Secresy, or The Ruin on the Rock, by Eliza Fenwick, Volume 2, Letter 10, from Lord Filmar to Sir Walter Boyer. Peaceful slumbers attend thee. What? The richer promising waking visions of expectation be mine. A very pretty apostrophe that for a young viscount. I wonder if my father ever forgot to go to sleep when in bed, and sprang up again to write to some contemporary insane of his stratagems, intrigues, and toils. Dear honest soul, no. His sonorous breathings from the next chamber salute my ears in answer. I certainly never was intended for the elder son of an earl. Oh, I cry you mercy, Dame Nature. I read, I bow my head in obedience. A little twinkling star, Boyer, darting his ray through the window, traces my destiny on this paper. When the heyday of the blood is past, says the oracle, thou art to be a statesman. So I will, yes, a prime minister of Great Britain, and the more mischief I do beforehand, the better shall I be qualified for the duties of that high and important station. The project I talked of in my last, have you not admired its tendency? Have you not rejoiced that the honours of the Elsing title is to have a fresh gilding from the Valmont coffers? If you have not already done this, I charge you neglect not a moment the duties of congratulations. For your friend, your happy friend Filmar is assuredly, mind me, assuredly, to be the husband of Miss Valmont. Therefore I will read you a letter, or at least a part of a letter, which came from her uncle to my father. Indeed, my lord, to pursue this subject a little farther, it is only with a man who is prepared by such opinions as I have laid down to keep his wife in seclusion, that Sibella Valmont can be happy. I have purposely educated her to be the tractable and obedient companion of a husband who, from early disappointment and a just detestation of the miserable state of society, is willing to abandon the world entirely. And not to mislead you in any way, such a one I hold in view. You, my lord, have acted with consistent delicacy throughout our guardianship. You readily yielded to my plans when our trust commenced, and you have never attempted to counteract them by any ill-judged interference, and I am therefore beholden to your prudence and politeness. Of your lordship's understanding I have so good an opinion that I cannot apprehend any offence will be taken on your part for my declining the proposed alliance of Lord Filmar for my niece. You must be aware, my lord, how very unfit her education has rendered her to be the wife of any person who does not in all respects think as I do. You must also suffer me to decline, for very good reasons, your request that Lord Filmar may see her. The child has beauty, and the interview for his sake is much better avoided. You, my lord, have a title to see her whenever you are so disposed, and I hope, as a proof that we understand each other, that Lord Filmar will accompany you when you honour Valmont Castle with your visits. From your friend and servant, G. Valmont. This letter, Walter, the Earl called me back to give me at his own chamber door, after I had bade him good night. Do you not observe how artfully Valmont had arranged the manner of his refusal? Or are you, as I was on its first perusal, a little chilled by the contents? I perceive, by the Earl's delivering the letter to me at a time which precluded all conversation on the subject, that he feels Valmont's refusal to be unchangeable. Now I dare not tell him that I have boldly resolved to take the niece of Valmont, whether her uncle pleases or not, because what he calls his honour would stand between me and my project. Honour will not pay my debts, Walter. So, honour, here you and I part. Good-bye to you. There. We have shaken hands, and the musty fellow has marched off on yon straight road, while I turn aside into this. Invention aid me, stratagem be my guide, and do thou, Walter, plot, contrive, and assist to make me matter of this prize. Assuredly I will be the husband of Miss Valmont. This have I sworn to myself, and this have I repeated to you. I read Valmont's freezing epistle, and I went to bed. Darkness and silence are admirable auxiliaries to reflection. First passed in array before me my mortgages, my debts, and the diabolical stake I lost to Spellman, for which I have given notes that extend to the uttermost penny I can raise. Then how gaily danced before me the visions I had indulged, while I sounded my father about this hidden fortune of Miss Valmont, and while I reflected on the well-known wealth of her uncle. Ah, but, said I, her uncle has refused me, has already selected a husband for her. And I shut my eyes and sighed, Walter. That sigh proved my salvation, for it exhaled the dim vapour that had obstructed the operations of my confidence, my invention. Then how rapidly did my fancy teem with plan and project! How did I reject one, choose another, till at length I called for light and paper, that I might cool the fever of my hopes by laying them bare to your inspection. I well know what you are, Walter, a compound of contradictions. When you should believe, you are sceptical. Where you should doubt, your faith is unshaken. And I expect when I tell you I am more and more convinced, by the recollection of many circumstances and by the Earl's awkward evasions, that Miss Valmont is her father's heiress, I expect, I say, that you will assure me I am deceived, and as to my resolution of stealing her, you will assert that it is a project idle, vain, and impracticable. Yet, were I now to abandon the enterprise, you would wonder at my stupidity, would declare nothing could appear so certain as her fortune, and nothing so easy as its attainment. Therefore, dear Walter, I do not ask your advice. I only ask your attention. 6,000 or 7,000 a year. The lady a minor too, from the age of 6, and no expenses incurred upon her education. Think of these circumstances, Walter, and if you love arithmetic, cast up the accumulations of all these years, and to make the sum total of my future possessions, add the £10,000 per annum of her uncle, who never had any other heir than this untutored Sibella. Would not such a sum convert even deformity into grace? But they say, too, she has beauty. Her ignorance and barbarism I will forgive, for I can at all times escape from a wife, though I cannot escape from the debts which are hourly accumulating to my destruction. Marry a fortune or fly my country. There's the alternative. I choose the former. As to flying one's country, I know of no country in which a man may drink, game, etc., etc., and spend his own and other people's money so easily as in that where, being born rather of one parent than another, the delightful privilege becomes, as it were, part of his legal inheritance. It must be done, too, if possible, time enough to prevent the necessity of a last mortgage to pay the notes I gave to Spellman. I was bubbled out of that money, but I was heated, and the rascal so cool I was unable to detect him. It becomes therefore a debt of honour, and some way or other pay I must. Pshaw, Walter! Thou wert always a dunce at school and at college. Now art thou turning over the page to seek the parting scene twixt me and honour. Foolish fellow, didst thou never hear there are two sorts of honour, honour of principle and honour of fashion? Honour of principle says, do not steal Miss Valmont out of her uncle's castle, and pay thy poor tradesmen before thou payest the gambler Spellman. Here advances honour of fashion. What grace, what ease in her attitudes! How unlike is she to the awkward fellow who has just spoken, and who, without one bow, one smile, stood as upright as if he dared show his face to the gods. But hark, her mellifluous accents steal upon mine ear. Be, says she, the accomplished nobleman for which nature in her happiest mood designed you. Exercise the elegance of your taste in the disposal of Miss Valmont's wealth. Above all, pay, Spellman, or you forego among the higher circles the rapture of staking thousands on the cast of a die. It would be strange if a young man of my accomplishments did not know how much more useful and endearing a companion is, honour of fashion, than honour of principle. I will go and drink one bumper to the little solitary, then I'll go dream. I'll dream that we are married, for I am upon honour thereto. Adieu, Filmar. P.S. Since I wrote the above, I have given 4 hours to deliberation on the chances for and against my design, nor have I found any obstacle which may not be overcome, though I have not yet discovered the means. Do not laugh at me, for I think it no inconsiderable step toward success to have divined all the probabilities which may oppose my success. Tomorrow I go to the castle. Griffiths shall attend me. He was once your valet too. Need I a more skilful engineer, think you? Who knows what opportunities may occur tomorrow? A sigh, a glance, a word. Oh, but I forget. I am not even to look at her, says Don Distance. Well, we will talk of that hereafter. Twice have I perambulated around the park, but it is so walled and wooded and moated that the great Mogul's army and elephants might be there invisible. Apropos, in the second of these circuits, which was on yesterday evening, as I was leading my horse down a hill, at the bottom of which Valmont's moat forms a sudden angle, I perceived a young man walking hastily up the narrow lane towards the moat. Hearing my horse's feet, he turned towards me, then wheeling round, he fled out of sight in a moment. In one hand he held a long pole, and in the other a small basket. His figure was uncommonly elegant, and I imagined I had some knowledge of him, but there are no gentlemen's houses in this quarter, except the castle and Monkton Hall. The little valley where I saw him is unfrequented, and scarcely passable. It is so encumbered with brambles and underwood. Woods rise immediately on the other side of the moat, whose shade, with that of the high barren and black, which shows its rugged side to the valley, spreads forbidding gloom over the whole. Who could this youth be, I wonder, and where could he be going? Adieu, Walter. Think of tomorrow. End of section 27.